Let me ask you something. Has a friend, naturopath, someone on social media ever told you your kid should be on a probiotic? And you're thinking, well, what does that actually mean? Do I just get one from the supermarket shelf? Like, what brand's good? Is yogurt enough? And so much of what is out there is so technical and scientific, it makes your eyes glaze over. Or a lot of it's just like really good marketing dressed up as kids' health advice. Today, I want to cut through the confusion, what probiotics actually are, what the research says about kids specifically, and when food is genuinely enough and when it might not be. The stuff that I really wish someone had told me a long time ago. Hey guys, welcome back. And if you're new here, this channel is all about feeding your family real, nourishing food without overcomplicating your life. Now, I'm going to say from the start, I'm not a doctor, I'm a mum who loves to research, and I've spent a lot of my time digging into the gut health science because honestly, I find it really fascinating and it genuinely changed how I feed my family. All right, let's get into it. Okay, first things first, because I think this word gets thrown around so much and we assume we know what it means. But let's just make sure we're all on the same page. A probiotic, in the true scientific sense, is a living microorganism. It's a specific strain of bacteria that, when we take enough of it, provides a measurable health benefit. And the last part is really important because there has to actually be enough research showing that that specific bacteria does this specific job in the human body. Now, why does that matter? Because bacteria are living organisms and there are trillions of different kinds. The word probiotic is like saying human being. It's not a category, it's not an individual, it's just like every human's not the same. Not every probiotic strain does the same thing. Now, here's where it gets really interesting and where a lot of us can get confused. Fermented foods like yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, and kimchi contain live bacteria. They are so great for your family's gut health, and I talk about them constantly. Now, they're not automatically probiotics in the strict sense because we don't really have the same level of targeted research behind them as we do with specific supplement strains. But that doesn't mean don't eat them. You should absolutely be eating them because they contribute to a healthy, resilient gut over time. But they are doing different work than a targeted probiotic supplement, and it's worth understanding that difference. Okay, let's talk about the microbiome because this is the foundation of why any of this really matters. Your child's gut is home to trillions of bacteria. And what we now know, and the research here has exploded in the last decade, is that those bacteria are involved in far more than just digestion. Around 70% of our immune systems live in and around our gut. So when we talk about why some kids catch every bug and others seem to just shake it off, the gut is a really important piece of this puzzle. The gut bacteria also communicate with the brain through the gut-brain axis. So mood, behavior, focus, sleep, all of that is connected to what's going on in the gut. I've covered the gut-brain connection in depth in another one of my videos, so I'll make sure I'll put the link below. And what's worth knowing is that our microbiome is shaped by how we live, like what we eat, how much sleep we get, stress levels, antibiotic use, all of it. So when we ask, should I give my child a probiotic? The bigger question underneath that is, how healthy is their gut environment to begin with? And that's where it starts with food. Now, I want to touch on this first before we get into supplements because I think it gets lost in the probiotic conversation. The foundation of a healthy gut is food, not capsules, food. specifically fiber varieties, because different kinds feed different gut bacteria, and the variety is everything. Fermented foods introduce and support beneficial bacteria, and we want to reduce the ultra processed stuff because that disrupts the gut lining and actually depletes the microbiome. Again, I've covered all of this in depth in my gut health reset video. I'll put that link below as well. Now, there's no point in adding a probiotic supplement on top of a diet that's already really low in fiber and high in processed foods, because that good gut bacteria that you're introducing needs to be fed. And that's what prebiotic foods do. So oats, bananas, garlic, onion, asparagus, cashews, apples, they travel through the large intestine where the bacteria live, and they feed all that good bacteria. So if your child's not eating a nice range of prebiotic foods, then the probiotic's going to be a complete waste of money. If you're going to invest in anything first, invest in food. That's always the biggest lever. And if you're starting out on a gut health journey with your family, the single most impactful thing you can do is look at your diet. Add in more plant varieties, which means more different fibers. Add in more fermented foods. Cut out the processed stuff. That foundation will change everything when it comes to your family's gut health. Now that we understand a whole food foundation is firstly so important, there are situations where a probiotic on top of a good diet may help your child. This is where the strain thing becomes really important, because it's not just take a probiotic, it's what's your goal, and is there a specific strain with research behind it for that goal. So let's talk about digestive issues. If your child has recurring tummy aches, constipation, loose stools, and no changes in the diet has helped, well, this is probably the most well-researched area for probiotic use in kids. And this is exactly where strain specificity really matters. For example, LGG or SB has solid research behind it for diarrhea and loose stools in children. Bifidobacterium lactis or BB12 has research for constipation. Same category digestive issues, but they're completely different bacteria and they do completely different jobs, which is why grabbing any probiotic off the shelf and hoping for the best probably won't get you very far. Let's talk about immune support, especially because we're heading into cold and flu season here in Australia. Now, because so much of the immune system lives in the gut, there's actually a good body of evidence showing that certain probiotic strains are associated with lower risk of your garden variety colds. There was a large research review published a few years ago that found probiotics were better than a placebo at reducing the risk of upper respiratory tract infections. So if your child is constantly picking up every bug that's going around school, this is worth knowing about. And then we've got antibiotics. So yes, they can save lives and they are necessary in some situations, but they significantly disrupt the gut microbiome. Research shows a clear association between antibiotics and a major imbalance in gut bacteria after use. Rebuilding your child's gut after with probiotic and prebiotic foods and potentially a targeted probiotic is worth thinking about. Again, the specific strain will matter. Okay, so you've decided you want to try a specific one, and then you walk into your health food store and there's like 40 of them. All of them claim to be clinically researched, all of them have big numbers on the front, but what do you actually look for? Okay, number one is the strain must be specific, not just Lactobacillus acidophilus. That's like saying a person. You want the full specific name, something like Lactobacillus acidophilus NCFM or Bifidobacterium lactis BB12. The full name refers to the individual bacteria, and that's what the research is tied to. There's a fantastic free resource guide called US Probiotic Guide. I'll put the link down below, run by a clinical pharmacist and medical advisory board. They publish which strains have research, what conditions that research applies to, and the quality level of that evidence. It's not Australian based, but the strains are the same, and it's an incredible cheat sheet for you to have to reference. Number 3, if there's no expiry date on the product, put it back. The bacteria have to be alive to do anything. You want to guarantee that they're still active when you actually buy it. Okay, number 4, never heat it up. So probiotics are fine to add into smoothies, stir them into yogurt bowls, mixed into cooled down oats. That's all fine, but do not add them to anything warm and definitely not hot. You know, it's the same reason they say cook your meat to a certain temperature, because heat kills bacteria. Okay, here's the flip side, because I think a lot of parents feel the pressure to add more and more things to their kids' diet. And sometimes the answer is, you know, that they're fine. If your child's getting a genuinely varied diet with a good variety of fiber, fermented foods regularly, no antibiotics, and they're generally healthy, a probiotic supplement might be unnecessary. The gut is a system, and when it's being fed well, it takes care of itself. One situation where you'd always want to check with your child's healthcare provider first is if your child's immunocompromised for any reason, or on immunosuppressive medication. If they have a condition that affects their immune function, that's a conversation to have with their healthcare provider before adding in any supplements into their diet. So let's bring that all together. You know, probiotics are specific strains of bacteria that do have actual research behind them. Not all fermented foods are probiotics in the clinical sense, but they're still doing beautiful things for your family's gut, and you should absolutely keep eating them regularly. The situations where a targeted probiotic may actually help, like digestive issues, immune support during cold and flu season, and rebuilding after probiotics. But just remember that the strain matters. Use that probiotic guide I was telling you about to find the research that is targeted for your specific goal. Look for the full strain name, a guaranteed expiry date, and never heat your probiotic. Above everything else, just remember food first, always. The probiotic conversation only makes sense on top of a solid whole food foundation. I know this can all feel quite overwhelming, but I promise once you understand the basics, it starts to become much clearer. And you don't need to get it perfect. Just take one thing from this video today, whether it's adding more fermented foods or more fiber variety in your family's diet. You can try looking up that probiotic guide before you're thinking of taking one for your child. It's the small steps done consistently that's really going to move the needle when it comes to your family's overall health. If this video was helpful, I would love it if you give it a thumbs up. You know, it helps other mums and parents find this content, and that's really why I make it. I've linked that guide in the description below, along with my gut health reset video if you really want to dive deeper on that food foundation, which is what I always recommend starting with. And please drop a comment below. I'd love to hear what fermented foods are in your family's daily routine. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.